guys, welcome back to the show. I know I had done an episode just a few days back, but I thought I'll be back with a brand new topic to talk about. I know this is a very important topic. It's how do you know it's time for a full 360 rebrand. Now I don't just mean business wise or creative wise. I mean both as a person, a brand, everything. So let's dive deep into this topic. First of all, what even is a rebrand really? Okay, so an example, great example. I'm in no way endorsing Jojo Siwa by any margin, but great example would be Jojo Siwa, Miley Cyrus. All of these people, they started off as child stars. They were, wearing bows, doing sweet cool things, and now they're grown up, and now they took a turn and went into dark pop kind of. I don't know what Jojo is doing, but Miley is kind of making herself her own person. She's her own character and is her own kind of person to do what she likes, which is amazing. Now, the reason I bring them up is because a lot about rebranding is trying new things, making sure or understanding that just because you started in one particular area doesn't mean you can't stretch into the other. It does take a lot of effort. It does mean that you are kind of being okay letting go of something that you love. For example, for me, whenever I want to rebrand, it's not just a simple rebrand. I try to change everything. I change the color of my profiles, try to change the profile pictures and things on wherever my things are at. If you notice, the Creative Hustle was not called the Creative Hustle from the start. It was called Season 1 Book Club with Anika Goya, which honestly wasn't the best title because it was not a book club. It was different. It was like interviews and things. And I was like, the title just does not fit. Nor does my color scheme. Nothing fits really, right? So I changed it. I made it more customized. I made my own cover for the podcast rather than using something from Canva. And then soon I was like, okay, yeah, this is better. I like the name Creative Hustle. It gives a better feel to it. It's more broad, so then I can interview all sorts of creatives and talk like this through self-help episodes too. And so that's kind of like a rebrand that I went through. But the episode mainly is about how do you know it's time? When do you know for sure you need to do a rebrand? Is it just you not liking what you're doing, or is it you really wanting to take a step forward and move on to something more big and spectacular? So the few things that I think of is, if you think that things aren't going well, or that you just want to try something that no one has done before, or they have done before but you kind of want to take your own twist to it, go for it. That's the main reason many people do rebrands. Another one is not feeling fulfilled and feeling like you are being judged, and those are kind of key points too as well, because a lot of this kind of is from the format of judging, because this is the reason I made this episode, right? Judging is almost like part of life at this moment. I'm used to it. People judge, I let them judge. It doesn't really affect me too much, but what does affect me is how I think about myself. If you are trying to do something and your mind tells you you aren't going to be good at this, you are terrible at this, you should not continue, then I lose confidence. It's just that one word from my own brain. It's not even someone else saying that to me, just my own brain making scenarios in my head and saying, if I do this, I'm going to mess up. If I do that, I will not do well in it. Those kind of things are what kind of stops me. And if that's you, if you feel like, yeah, I feel like I do that too, then this episode, I think you would love to stay till the end, because I'm going to tell you some stories about my own thing that I decided to do with the rebrand. So actually, here's a quick story that actually revolves around this. With the rebrand, as I mentioned earlier, Creative Hustle is what it's called now. But Creative Hustle, the reason this name came up was not even just because I was trying to rebrand. It just was I felt like I needed a fresh start. A fresh start as in just naming it something else so it resonates with more people. And I remember I did this interview on this podcast called the Story King podcast, And after their show was over, like after they finished recording, they called me um, a little hustler, and so that word kind of stuck to me, and I kind of had it written in a notebook. And I was looking through that notebook, and I saw the word hustle in it, and I was like, this hustle word really resonates with me. I like this. I like what it means. It's giving a nice feeling. I like the way it sounds. I like the way it makes me feel. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna use this name. And so that's how the Creative Hustle was born, or at least the second season of it. And so that's kind of how that rebrand happened. Now, in terms of the personal stage, though, as I mentioned, this is not just about your brand, it's also about how you personally change with your brand. Because your brand essentially is attached to you. It's attached to your name, not your name is attached to the brand. So your brand goes along wherever you go. And so if you try to break that brand and want to step out for you have to do something big. You have to do something that no one saw coming for you, or something that you think is unique and different. And most importantly, it has to be something you love to do. You cannot just randomly start up a cooking business if you have zero interest in cooking. If you initially were like a cupcake artist and you want to move into this cooking stream and you do not know how to cook anything apart from like baked goods, which is basically baking, then you should not, I'm not saying you should not try it, you should totally try it, but before you rebrand, I think the number one question is to ask, do I really want to rebrand? Do I really want to change everything about my platform and turn it into something different? Because if you have a following, or even if you don't, people want to see continuity. They don't want you to see that every 2 months you're having a rebrand, because that's not a rebrand. That's just you not having a set mind on what you're trying to do. Which, if that's you though, I would actually highly recommend, before you release anything or before you put out anything into the world, kind of just experiment. Just there's nothing wrong with experiment. Just try everything. If you want to cook something, bake something, see what you like. And if you're doing a channel, like making a platform where you sell things or tell people things or give advice to people and things like that, make sure you want to do this. You don't want people depending on you and then later on you just be like, oh, I don't like this anymore, I'm gonna move on. But you're totally free to do that. I mean, it's your choice. It is not like a compulsion that, okay, I started a business, I have to do it for the rest of the time till I'm alive. That's not how it works. You can kind of move around with it and do what you please. In terms of like, again, I never really delved deep into the personal side, like the person itself. For me, I had this whole phase where it would be just me. I was an overthinker, I still am, but I had this time where I would just, I still do this. Again, I'm saying this straightforward right now, still do this, where I text people first, all the time. It's just me texting first. Well, maybe sometimes someone else texts me first, but most of the time it's me. And sometimes I wonder, am I trying too hard? Am I being too much of a go-getter where I'm always being the one talking first? Am I not letting the other person speak, or I'm just shutting them off and talk about myself all the time? And so that's when I was like, the problem is me. And so that's where all of this comes. A lot of it is like, after that incident or that situation, I started thinking that, okay, once the new school year starts, like I'm going to be a junior in a month, like next month I'll be a junior because school starts soon. And I was like, okay, here are the few things I'm gonna do to make sure I don't draw too much attention. I'm gonna change my personality, talk less, not share anything about myself apart from like anything anyone asks me, of course, and only talk when someone talks to me, and most probably don't try to be unique. Now, I was all overthinking in my head, right? So in my head, I was just storming up, coming up with like random scenarios in my head, like, oh, people, my friends don't like me, they are only bearing with me because I'm always there, they have no way to get rid of me, and even if they want to get rid of me, they cannot because they just don't know how. Or they do know how, but they are afraid of how I might feel. And so I would just have these weird scenarios in my head. And that's when I realized that rebrand, the whole rebrand situation that I created for myself, where I was like feeling like I had to change everything about myself, was not even relating to anything I have done before. It's not that I'm the problem, they're the problem, or anything like that. It's just insecurities. That's another thing that I want to kind of talk about. Insecurities are a lot of the reason people do rebrands as well. Personally, for me, the rebrand for this one was not an Insecurity. This was just, I had to rebrand because it didn't make sense for a title. But with my music, I had to rebrand because of some unforeseen stuff that happened with that. And so I decided to like kind of just let go of it and just do a whole rebrand so that I can just start fresh and have well produced music on there. And that was a huge step because a lot of people, including me, it takes a lot of confidence and things to kind of put yourself out there, be that person who kind of just does it with the flow. You go for it, you don't think too much about what's gonna happen. Thing though is, right, for me, I'm talking about myself in this episode particularly because my experience is kind of like all over the place. It's like I am a go-getter, but at the same time I'm also scared, if I release something, it's always like, what will people say? Will they like this? Will they not like this? Will they like this episode? Will they not like this episode? But then, you kind of just have to like let it go almost, where you are just, putting out your content. If people like it, they like it. If don't like it, don't like it, right? You do not have like really the power to always like catch people and be like, oh, why don't you like this? Why are you not enjoying the content I put out? Because at the end of the day, it's their choice. You are the one just putting out stuff. You do that, you're a creator, right? You do whatever you like to do, and if you enjoy it, then go for it. Continue working, continue doing the things you like. Just remember, if you are rebranding, if you're thinking of rebranding, keep these things in mind. Make sure you're rebranding only because you actually want to and not because you're scared or fearful of what would happen if you, I don't know, stop your business or if your business fails. Don't think about all of that. Just yes, think of the pros and cons while starting something that big, but make sure like you think of everything, all the pros, all the cons, and lay them out in front of you. Once you do that, no matter how scared or how not scared you are, you will go for it no matter what. So yeah, that's kind of my story. Trying to think if I have anything left to say in terms of all of this. Yeah, and okay, yeah, this is the main thing I want to point out before we end this episode. It's that never change yourself. Never change yourself, as in, if you feel like you are a bad person, ask yourself, why do I feel that way? But only change because you want to. Now, again, I've said this in lots of episodes, in the people pleaser episode, in the hater episode, all the episodes. I'm emphasizing this once again. Only change yourself if you really think you want to, or you feel like that's the best for you. Don't change because someone else is telling you to change. That's not going to do you any good, right? If someone tells you you don't look good in long hair, now it's your hair. What can you do about it? You can cut your hair, but do you want to? That's an external thing. Now, on the other hand, if someone says you should stop singing because you sing bad, will you stop singing? Well, yes, it hurts, right? Everything hurts. But make sure if you are not going to sing anymore, make sure it's because of your own choice, not because they're telling you to not sing. If you like singing, continue. Who cares if other people think you're bad at singing? If you think you are good at singing, and if you think that you are improving day by day, then that's perfect. All I'm trying to say now is that just keep believing in yourself. Last episode too, I said, keep believing in yourself. Don't give up. Trust yourself. Trust your guts. Whatever your guts tell you, just go for it. Only after going for it do you know whether you're going to fail or not fail, right? Just go for it. Keep experimenting. Keep asking yourself questions. That's a key thing as well. Just ask yourself questions and yeah, keep at it. I hope this episode really helped you and gave you some new insights. I will see you all next week. Have a great evening, everybody, and have a wonderful time being creative.